quart full of food. It used to be feeding my head because I had no control of my arms. Anyway,
That's the higher stuff than Canada.
yeah, they don't know.
I think it's just in you. I think Canada's just.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
I have a question,
Yes.
and it's nothing that doesn't require an answer.
Okay.
You know you get more beautiful every week.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
No, but
The
you
hormones
don't,
are working.
you don't. And do you have to take them all your life?
Some of them, yes. I mean, I don't have to. I'm on 3 different medications for hormone replacement, and one of them I won't have to keep taking if I get surgery, but I don't know that I'm going to get surgery.
Which?
The one that blocks my testosterone.
Okay,
My body is making testosterone, and that's not.
mine is, and it's good.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But if I don't have the testosterone producing organs anymore, then I don't need to take the drug that blocks the testosterone.
Are you going?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It's a decision for later. Yeah. It feels big and scary, so I haven't really thought about it that much. You know?
I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
The big and scary part.
Yeah. But yeah, in theory, will be taking this for the rest of my life.
Okay.
I don't love being dependent on the. That's one of the reasons that I am hesitant about surgery, because it would make me like more dependent on the pharmaceuticals. I don't really like the pharmaceuticals very much.
Well, you may not like it, and how about a bit of gratitude
No,
that
for sure. It's incredible that it exists. It's allowing me to do this.
supporting you to
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You get more beautiful every week. Oh shit! It is so, and it's so true. It is so true. Every week I look at you and I go, that dimple is deeper. That left dimple
The
is.
left dimple.
Oh yeah, the right one not so much, but the
No,
left one.
That's always been. I've always had this picture. You are beautiful. It's all.
Well, my dear, thank you. I know you got to go do your job. And do thank you. Where's Nancy? Okay. Question? Key for prayer for peace. Okay? Okay. And key for him to freedom will be B flat. B flat. Yeah. And this week, event. Now, feel myself. My great nose and my stop. My foot are sitting no. My name is called Phil. Something's going on. Stay nervous.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Broadview United. We are delighted to have you worshiping in our space this morning. We want to welcome also those of you who are joining us online. We are delighted that you have made the choice to be with us here this morning, and we feel grateful for your presence.
Good morning, everyone. We are wholeheartedly welcoming every one of you, especially the online community who are journeying and celebrating God's presence with us. We are an affirming congregation who strives to offer and share a warm welcome, regardless of your sexuality, gender identity, or any other social aspect. Every aspect of yours is honored and celebrated and respected in this place. We are also striving to be an intercultural environment that wholeheartedly embraces radical hospitality that crosses borders and dissolving boundaries to find the radical love of God that Jesus exemplified in the relationship with the other. We also acknowledge that we gather in the unceded territory of the Lekwungen and Sankotan speaking peoples, especially Saanich, Songhees, and Esquimalt First Nations, on whose territory we live, work, and worship.
There are a number of announcements for you printed in the bulletin, and we want to draw your attention to just a few of them. The partnership that we have begun to make and enrich over a long history of both the founding congregations and this new one, of Broadview, is part of our mission and our mandate. And so you will see an announcement about the angel gifts. And so next week, there will be cards. We're a really key partner in creating a Christmas for those who are marginalized and living on the streets. And so there'll be an opportunity for you to pick up a name of a person. And if you need more information about the Angel Gift Program, or you don't know or haven't been a part of that before, the newsletter will tell you a bit more about that. As well, our welcoming Our Place Seniors Tea is this coming week. And this is a tea for many of the seniors who find themselves either living in the car or all of their resources are going just to afford their rent. And so they look to Our Place to support them in a variety of ways. And we host a tea a couple of times a year. And so there's a desire for a little bit of treats and help for that. And there's directions for you in that as well.
Thank you. BBU is a community faith who loves to share good news. And then I would love to just share that last week I opened my phone and then what came up? The great feature in the Times columnist featuring Mark and, in fact, all Broadview United.
So while I'm the one who's interviewed, it's really about this congregation. It is your vision, your initiative, and as I said in the article, it grew out of everything from that we were a part of as we named this. And so building on the tradition that First Met had of having shelters, working together as community, and as we did renovations here, we set about trying to be more and be a part of the community. And so really I want to thank each of you for your willingness to be part of the advocacy of what it means to show compassion in our world. And so the applause really is for you, not for me.
Some of us might feel that you're pretty new to Broadview United, or many of us might be feeling that we're pretty known in the United Church and also Broadview United. Regardless of how you feel, how you belong to Broadview United, whether you feel new or old or really long-time members, you're very welcome to dinner church this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5:30. Just let us know via RSVP or myself or Mingu that you're coming. We have a great food and also great conversation with great people. And 7 p.m., we are going to have a concert with Radio Tambora, our intercultural members and friends, who will be on the tour soon, but they would like to share a great time with all of BBU. So regardless of whether you attend dinner church, you're very welcome to enjoy the concert at 7 p.m.
We feed you a lot. This is part of what we do. And so as well this week is the BVU family dinner. So those families that have children, young children and teens, we invite you to be a part of that dinner this Friday. It's a time for families to come together to kind of share both their triumphs and their challenges and be supported by one another. It's helpful if you RSVP for that dinner But if you don't, that's okay too. There's always room at the table. Following that dinner is our junior youth group. And so folks will just move from one experience into the other. And if you have teens who are in middle school, then they're invited to carry on through and stay for that as well.
Right. Senior youth still are welcome to volunteer at the family dinner. But junior youth are welcome to have dinner and come to the junior youth. And every Sunday morning, we have youth group Sunday. And then, because our young adult, a youth leader is in a young adults retreat, they will be self-led today. So youth, are your youth? Please join the youth group in the chapel with everyone else.
And finally, the Trans Day of Remembrance is coming up next week, and we've decided to host the vigil together with the regular monthly dinner that we host. And so while it's trans families that are a part of that dinner, the vigil that starts at 6:45 is an open vigil for anybody who finds himself as an ally, who has experienced violence or has a family member who's experienced violence, or wants to celebrate the resilience and the resistance of what it means to be supportive at this juncture of our history. Our question of the day that Sheila's going to address in her sermon is, how can we individually and as a community be peacemakers? Let us sing together.
channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, in giving to all that we receive, denying that we're born to eternal life.
In the book of Isaiah, we hear the words that the darkness and the light that shines in the midst of the darkness cannot be overcome. And so on this Peace Sunday, we light a light as a reminder of the presence of God, which is always a peaceful one that calls us, invites us to live lives of peace. As individuals, as communities, as nations, and as a world. Would you pray with me? Holy One, as we come into this space, we remember. We remember those who gave their lives, who gave their time, who gave their youth to a conflict that they believed would be the last, that we would mature and grow into understanding that your way of peace is what we are called to. Forgive us, O God, that we are slow to learn those lessons of history. Forgive us for the ways in which we continue to inflict trauma on your children, on communities, and on your earth. We pledge, O God, this day, not only to remember, but to stand strong as voices of peace at finding different ways to navigate our differences, and to remind ourselves that together, under one sun, on one earth, we are one humanity, your children. Amen.
Deep in our
invite some of the children to come join me up front today, if they would, please. Good morning. All right. It's good to see you all here this morning. This morning, you might notice that things are a little bit different. And this is a Sunday in which we prepare for a special day. And does anybody know what that day is called? Yeah? Okay, over here. Remembrance Day. All right. And what is the point of Remembrance Day? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so to remember those who gave their lives for freedom, but also to remember that we want to create a world of peace, right? Yeah, do you want to add something to that? That's right. They're a special kind of flower. That's right. So remember the people who came before us. Why poppies? Does anybody know? Sashi? There's a poem called Flanders Field. Yeah, all right. Color of Hearts. Yeah, so there is some relationship to that. It is related to a poem called Flanders Fields where we remember. You got something urgent you want to say? Okay, go for it. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So there was a chemical in the bombs that perpetuated the growth of that. Yeah. Yeah. And they're in a lot of the graveyards and around. Yeah. Yeah. What do you got for me? So you're going to see people wearing red poppies. And then on top of that, I have another poppy. What color is it? Okay. And what does that signify? For the red one, okay. What does the white one signify? Yeah. Peace. That's right. So remembrance is both remembering what we did and the people who were part of creating some freedoms that we enjoy now. But it's also a commitment to trying to change the world about how we live in it. I have here something. Does anybody know what these are? What are these? What is it? What color is it? Yeah. Right. Red and black in the middle and red on the outside. That's right. Yeah. What do you know about this? It's or out of origami, and it's a crane. Yes. And? Yeah. Right. So you're talking about the story of Saduko, okay? And she, there was a tradition, and she was really, really little when the bomb was dropped in Japan. And as a result of that radiation, she ended up getting cancer. And her wish was for peace. And so all of her friends got together to make cranes, because the belief was if you made 1,000 cranes, then your wish would come true. She died before she could make them all, and so her friends decided they would commit themselves to making these. And so I want to gift each of you one of these this morning so that you can be a part of making peace together, okay? So what we're going to do, before I hand these out, part of peace is learning how we control our emotions and how we act in a peaceful way. So we're going to sing a song that we've learned before called The Prayer for Peace. And we're going to do the actions for it. And I'm going to invite you to stand and the congregation to stand too. And we're going to learn this together if we've forgotten it. We go, ready? Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. One last time. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. I'm going to give this basket to Misha, and when we go to Sunday school, which we're not yet, and please stay standing. So what's going to happen now is we're going to see the wreaths come in. We're going to hear the trumpet play. We're going to have a moment of silence, and we'll remember together. And then as you go out, you're going to take those peace cranes as your commitment and your gift of peace to the world. So in order for that to happen, I'm just going to get you to step back just a tiny little bit. Over here, Dave. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We invite our children to make their way out, and you may be seated. Oh, I'm so sorry. Each week, we stand up here to talk a little bit about different ways and the impacts that this congregation has. And we invite you to give to the ministry and mission of Broadview through the PAR forms, through the e-transfers, Canada Helps, envelopes, and a variety of ways in which this congregation steps up to support the budget that you approve at each and every annual meeting. At 8 o'clock this morning, you would have received an email from the church regarding our stewardship campaign for this season. And what we hope to do is over the next 2 weeks to kind of just move through what it is that you already know is important. Indeed, it was a privilege to find ourselves on the front page of the paper yesterday. And it says something about this community of faith and the place that it has in the world. And if you have a chance to look at some of the comments on the Facebook site of our place or on the City of Victoria or the City of Saanich, you will see that the reputation of this place has started now to have ripples in which people trust it from a variety of different places, not just those who attend here. And so in order to be able to keep up with what it is that we're doing, we're inviting you to be a part of that. It's very easy for us to keep doing what we've always done. But we know as times change and as costs increase, it requires something of all of us. And if you're a person who doesn't like email and prefers analog, on the back table you'll find envelopes. And you can open that envelope, find the same letter that came in the email, and an invitation for you to fill out a pledge card. And if you do the online version, it can be quick and simple and easy. It can be done in 30 seconds. What will take the time is your discernment. And we want you to think carefully about the impact that you continue to want to be a part of. And like all things, as you move through, you'll see there's a quick option for you to simply say you want to increase your givings by 3%, which is what the standard cost of living increases are. And we hope that as folks begin to think about the ways in which you are participating in this ministry and mission, that you will look to how it is that you can continue to help us meet our budget and our guidelines. If you're new to this congregation and you have no idea where to even begin or start, you can talk to our treasurer or to any of our staff. But there's an opportunity for you also to discern how you want to be a part of that. The electronic form will automatically go to the treasurer and the office, and those who want to fill out the paper one can put it back in this envelope and simply put it into the donation box at the back. Thank you for your ongoing support of the ministry and mission that does indeed have an impact and makes a difference.
Let us open our hearts and minds and bodies as we come before God and each other with our prayers. Sacred One, gathered here in the shelter of this sanctuary and in our homes and across the world, we remember. Gathered with memories that fill us with emotions, encircled by our ancestors and with you, we remember. Gathered as a people who strive to comprehend how easily the thin thread and delicate balance can turn from peace to war, we remember. Oh God, our remembering continues to be complicated and easy answers are not forthcoming. On this anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass in 1938 Germany, we remember those killed and harmed as a greater anti-Semitism and hate was unleashed in our world. Oh God, how are we to live when faced with the reality of a worldwide war industry which brings economic wealth and prosperity for some, and devastation, unrelenting trauma, and death to many, many others? How can we look to the future when the lives of so many innocents are stolen, whose rights are trampled upon and traded, and often broken beyond all hope of recovery? And so with hearts that break, we remember all who have served and continue to serve and have given their lives for the sake of a better world, a just world, a world where every single person is granted the right to live in peace and to know beauty and joy, light and love. We especially uphold the peacekeepers of every nation and the many organizations who work tirelessly to put forth an alternative vision to war. And this day, we honor the courage and service of all past and current members of the Canadian Armed Forces. We remember all countries who are locked in warfare, where children are forced to be soldiers with guns rather than kids with toys, where women and girls are forced to be sex slaves, where the poor are always the ones who take the brunt of harm to mind, body, and soul, where so many have to flee the countries of their birth again and again and again. And so it is today we particularly lift up the people of Gaza and Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, South Sudan, Congo, Myanmar, India, Pakistan, among others. Oh God, as we yearn and pray and work for peace as a way of life between nations, so do we pray that peace of mind, body, and soul would be a way of life we foster in all of our relationships, the kind of peace that reaches out across divides, the kind of peace that inspires us to be about the wisdom of the ancients, the kind of peace where wolf and lamb lie down together, the kind of peace upheld and honored by Jesus, our peacemaker and friend. May this vision before us be our reality. Amen.
A word before I begin. The text of Hymn to Freedom is written by Harriet Hamilton. when every heart joins every heart and together yearns for liberty. That's when we'll be free. When every hand joins every hand and together shapes our destiny. That's when we'll be free. Any hour, any day, the time soon will come when we will live in dignity. That's when we'll be free. When everyone joins in our song and together sing in harmony. That's when we'll be free. Anyhow, any day, the time soon will come when we will live in dignity. That's when we'll be free. When everyone joins in our song and together sing in harmony, that's when we'll be free.
I am the daughter of a veteran. I am the granddaughter of a veteran. On the day my great aunt Alice died at the age of 104, the French government came to her nursing home in Halifax, to present her with a medal for her service in World War I. But Louise Rose, that's not fair for you to sing that so beautifully before I preach on Remembrance Day. Thank you. What would they give? What would they give to listen to Louise Rose singing on a piano signed by Oscar Peterson with a song written by her friend Oscar Peterson in the peace and beauty of this place today? What would they give? Every generation has a Jonah story. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, "In my distress, I called to the Lord, and God answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I called for help, and you, God, listened to my cry. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will again look toward your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord." And then the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah up onto dry land. This is amazingly part of our story. I wanted to do something that's not in the bulletin or planned for this morning, but really, what are they going to do? Fire me? I'd like you just to turn to people near you and pass the peace. Are going to win this year. So this is a time for us on this beautiful Sunday morning to gather, not to glorify war, but to honor courage and to seek a peace worthy of all that has been given. Much has been given. This is a photograph from the Times columnist. For 20 years, I was the chaplain at the Royal Legion Branch 150 on Bowen Island. Oddly enough, so was Mountbatten. He was a member of that Legion. I'm not sure how that happened, but I was always pleased that he was part of our group. Remembering changes, though. The faces of World War II are fading now, but their stories still breathe in the air we share. But new memories have joined them. Hands up those who have stories that connect them to World War II. Hands up those who have stories that connect them to World War I. There are people in this congregation today who have relatives whose names are written on the Vimy Ridge Memorial. But new memories have joined them now. Do you recognize this picture? This is the Korean War Memorial, Ottawa, Ontario. It's the letters in the corner say this is a picture courtesy of the Department of Veterans Affairs. How many of you know people who served in Vietnam, or at least in Korea? How about those who served in Vietnam? That picture on the left is the War Memorial in Windsor, Ontario. And this picture is out of sequence. That is Anne Margaret and Bob Hope entertaining in Vietnam. When I went to high school with a guy who walked across the bridge from Cornwall, Ontario to volunteer in Vietnam, served up as a volunteer. So we remember as well all the musicians who crossed oceans with guitar and goodwill and very short skirts to bring a few hours of light into the darkness of war. Every generation, it seems we have soldiers and singers, entertainers, and strategic artists who stand guard and who sang for home. When Cheryl and I were in Honolulu last year and we saw a concert of musicians who had been to Vietnam, they said the most evocative song that got the loudest response was, "Take Me Home, Country Road." I've never been able to hear it say the same since. For Canadians, peacekeeping has come recently with the Blue Beret, Cyprus, the Sinai, Rwanda, Bosnia, Haiti, Afghanistan. Missions where the call was not to conquer, but to hold the fragile ground of peace. Who has a connection with a blue beret-wearing soldier, sailor? Thank you. One of the changes, of course, is that now we remember as well the medics, the pilots, the engineers, the translators, and the chaplains. I wanted to share with you a little bit about how the chaplaincy has changed for those who are men and women who bear witness to the world's broken places. On the far left is the first Buddhist chaplain serving in the Canadian Armed Forces. In the middle is the first humanist chaplain serving. And on the right is a First Nations advisor and chaplain. An expansion, a widening of resources in that beautiful, quiet work of compassion. Here in Victoria, we know what the sound of remembrance is. Bagpipes, for many of us, bagpipes along Government Street. Old songs from the cenotaph at the legislature. Old songs sung at bars in the Legion in the afternoon and evening. The toll of bells over our harbor. And beyond this city, across Canada, people of every generation are asking again what it means to be a nation of peace in a world that is still torn by violence and fear. This is from the Canadian Army site, and I had my choice of 1,000 pictures, but this one, there are no names. These are just marked as, here lies a soldier, or an Irish soldier, or a Scottish soldier. So we gather in this beautiful day for worship. We hold in our hearts both the sorrow of war and somehow a stubborn hope for peace. Week after week in Margaret's beautiful prayers and Mingu, they mention our need to pray for peace, to be activists, not passive, but Pacific loving people. And so we want to open our hearts to gratitude and to strengthen our resolve, both to be peacemakers in truth and at home, around the world, and in all that we do. Every generation has its own Jonah story. Every generation has that happening, that attraction to exclusivity. And each one of us has to do the hard work of not running away from being compassionate. I believe, seriously, there's a moment in our lives where we wish they would all be like us. It would be so much simpler if they all thought like me. It might be frightening for you, but it would make simple for me. We draw lines between the righteous and the wrong. You heard that in Jonah's prayer. Even in the belly of a whale, he's talking about he does things better than the people who don't turn to God. Between those we trust and those we fear. And part of us, like, I don't know, a stubborn child, longs to believe that the mercy of God can stop at some border that we've made, either a political border or some other border that matters to us, and that God's concern is really mostly for those who look or speak or believe as we do, or happily all three. They're the most special to God. But Remembrance Day calls us back. We stand beside friends whose nations once stood on the other side of battlefields. We share peace with people our grandparents were told to hate. And so we find ourselves humbled by the passage of time, astonished that yesterday's enemies can become today's partners in peace. And again, we heard the cry that was the topic for last Sunday's service with Hannah, God's call to Jonah, should I not be concerned about this great city? In those words, God is not excusing cruelty because it did represent empire and brutality and tyranny. But God is revealing compassion across every line that we draw. And Jonah's story reminds us that mercy is not weakness. It is the courage to see humanity, even in those who have wronged us, and hope that they can see humanity in us. To believe that peace is possible not because we forget the past, but because we have remembered it too well to repeat it. And so we wear the red poppy for courage, the white poppy for peace. We remember the soldiers and the peacemakers and the courage that resists the tyranny and compassion that rebuilds trust. Who would have thought 15 years ago that tyranny would be a word that we use quite often now? We wouldn't have imagined it, would we? And so now, once again, we need to find that courage to resist tyranny, as perhaps generations before us have done. As I said, each generation faces its own Nineveh, and each generation must decide whether to run from it or walk toward it with mercy in our hearts. The writer of this story reminds us that even the prophets ran from peace when it felt too costly, that mercy can seem naive when we've been wounded, and that every generation, from Jonah's to our own, must rediscover what peacemaking truly means. So let's just take a moment and find out, when did this guy live? What is this story written and what's it about? So most people, most scholars, place the story of Jonah as to have been written about 300 years before Jesus was born. As that post-exilic period after the Babylonian exile, they sometimes call that the Persian period. But it's written about 300 years earlier. So 300 years before Jesus was born, they start a story saying, long ago and far away. And there was a prophet mentioned, and I'm thinking it's in 2 Kings, named Jonah, like one sentence. But I think that was enough for the authors, who are totally anonymous, who wrote this story to say, well, that name sounds, that sounds like it should have resonance for our people. And so in the book that it's written, it looks back to an earlier time. This is something that gives it kind of a gravitas and an importance, rather than saying, here's a story I want to tell you about people. Because it was a story about people. But the questions in that time are the questions of our time. Hard to believe. Identity, nationalism, God's mercy. And the struggle we see in our country and in other countries to grapple with the question of God's compassion extending beyond a border that we have placed, extending beyond an image we have painted? That is a question that seems to be tragically timeless. How should, the question being put through Jonah is, how should Israel understand its role now that it's been humbled by this non-believing empire? We have so much in resonance for that. So we could say that Jonah is a theological protest story. It's a protest against all that was coming from many parts of their faith that said nationalism means that God loves us best. Our faith means our nation is best. And so we wonder, like, who is this guy? Why does he do that? It's because the stories of intermarriage ruining us, reaching out, being influenced by others is going to bring us down. They were getting a lot of play. Let me know if this rings a bell with what you've seen in the news in the last couple of years. So there was this growing belief, Nehemiah is one of them, that we have to be exclusive. We have to draw the boundaries big, draw the circle small, make it smaller still. That was kind of like a theme song for them. But it is actually, if your biblical Hebrew is better than mine, and almost everybody's is, you can see that there's a kind of humor and a satire. But it's not the only story circulating at this time. Because, this is a modern picture, of course, of Jerusalem. But in Jerusalem, there was such a rich conversation going on about what would be their philosophy around other nations. And they were being told, like, don't marry outside the faith. You may not have noticed so much, but when you look at the book of Ruth, she's a theological protest story, right? How many times they say in the book she's a Moabite woman? They could say in brackets, highlighted and italics, she's not one of us. That's the debate. That's the theological tension. Is that okay? Moab's, she wants what? And so here's the story of Jonah. The same deep question. And it's hauntingly paralleling for us because as tyrants rise, they want to draw the circle smaller over and over again. And how hard is it to be strong in your courage to speak up and say your circle's too small, right? Your circle's too small. So actually, this is a story, I'm hitting the wrong button here, the story that we're still seeing played out with different words in our own time. This is from Arizona a couple of weeks ago. White supremacy and Christian nationalism are even evil. Now, they put that up in the same frame of mind as this guy wrote the story of Jonah. Change a few words and you'll see exactly how they are. So we're asked then to use a different lens looking at Jonah. This is not a biography. This is a parable. Now, we have in Jesus the best storyteller of time. And I say that because he used parables. Now, I remember one of my early teachers saying a parable is like a story that's thrown down on the carpet. See that storyline? And then you take your own life and you throw it down beside. And he says, how are you doing? How are you doing compared to this or that? Good Samaritan. You know exactly what he was talking about. So if it's a parable, if Jonah's story is thrown down beside our life, we are encouraged then to make changes, aren't we? Anytime we find ourselves being drawn over like some huge toxic magnet into the thinking of make your world smaller, the Jonah brain, the anti-Nineveh brain. And so I want to just go over this. I talked about these people without crying at 9:30, and I'd like that to go down in somebody's memory. On the far right, Sir Christopher Winton. Who knows about him? Winton. Yes, thank you. 669 children he saved A young banker went on a holiday and realized what was happening with the Nazis. Changed everything, made forged passports in an attic, and put the kids on trains. It was my privilege to know one of those kids on the last train he sent out. Once he realized it was no longer possible, that the Nazis were in firm control, he went into service. He left his boxes with all his information tucked away in the attic of the family home. And it wasn't until 50 years later that his wife, who knew nothing of this, found the boxes. And there are some beautiful stories of how he was reunited with the children that were still living, 669. Raoul Wallenberg on the top. Women who went and were in service, and also this particular group were entertainers, and of course the sisters, the naval nursing sisters. So we want to remember them because it's now our turn. It's our turn. We're not going to be making passports to save children from the Nazis, but we may be part of a different kind of underground railway. Time will tell where we will find ourselves. So the question I started the service with was about how we can be involved in being, as individuals and community, the huge question of how can we be part of the fight for peace. And I think that it's in this little, that we need to keep remembering that this can happen. But not to let the remembrance stop us, but to let it to renew us. And so that's where these three values come in. First of all, patience with ourselves, with the time it takes, with when we get tired. Secondly, kindness with everyone who might possibly be an ally, because we're going to need them all. And finally, courage, because we don't know yet what will be possible for us, but as long as we have patience and kindness and courage, we will be open to the opportunities given to us that we might eventually stop this and be always more inclusive, so we really will make the circle wider. Would you join me, please, in prayer? The search for peace is ancient, Holy One, as old as Jonah's flight, as near as our next conversation, as urgent as the divisions that now shadow our world again. To remember rightly is to say, we will not run from Nineveh. We will not run from the work of reconciliation. We will not forget that God's mercy is the ground of our peace. God of nations and neighbors, you have shown us through Jonah that your mercy reaches farther than we dare imagine. On this Sunday of remembrance, teach us to honor the courage of those who served without hardening our hearts against those once called foes. Let the memory of war move us to mercy, and the hope of peace draw us into your wide embrace, for your compassion is from everlasting to everlasting. Amen.
And
they describe Jonah as the wounded prophet. We too walk with wounded prophets. Those who served come home with wounds, as we know, visible and invisible. Those they loved and lived with were also affected. So today we go forth with hearts determined to be compassionate as we go into this beautiful world that God has made. We commit ourselves to seeking a wider circle, to honoring the cost that has cost so many to give us this life, and to abide in the mercy and grace of the one who made us. Amen.